Rural Reflections, Calling Dave. It's your podcast, co-hosted in Carrington, North Dakota by my brother Dave Nelson and myself, Grant Nelson, here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio. Dave, it's a Memorial Day weekend. Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, good to be around yet. It's kind of an unusual Memorial Day weekend, but the flags are all flying here and the flowers are put out, and there's going to be a condensed version of the military service at the cemetery, I guess, so it's not a total loss anyway.
No, that's what we're doing around here too. We're doing the condensed version. We're going to have it on the radio and we're going to live stream it, so it'll be out there for people a little bit at least.
It's good to at least. I mean, they cancel so many things, some for good reasons, some I don't think for the best reasons, and that. So it's good at least they can do this.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. As far as crop progress goes, now I see the USDA said 80% of the corn is in nationwide. I'm guessing a high percentage of the corn that isn't in is probably out in North Dakota. Is that an accurate statement, or?
We probably have the other 15% because there is not going to be much corn here. There are people planting. There's something they have to do to plant a small area in each field. And then that's it. So I don't know if they're planting 10 and 15 acres and 20 acres and so on, field, if they can get it into it. But most likely there's going to be preventive plant on all the corn acres pretty much around here. You don't have to go terribly far away from this immediate area to get into an area where people are planting in fairly normal conditions. So there's going to be a lot less corn in the area here anyway, in this extreme wet area.
You know, maybe in light of everything that's going on, people's decreased use of ethanol and that sort of thing during this COVID-19 pandemic, maybe that's not the worst thing.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I'll say we'll know in a year, or we'll know after a while, but for right now, it's kind of it's a real jolt to a lot of people, but hopefully turns out good in the end.
I hope so. I think I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of beans and a lot of wheat this year, which I kind of like seeing big fields of wheat anyways, so maybe that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of.
Yeah, I know. I've always liked to see the golden field of wheat and stuff too, and that's what's going to be a lot more around here. There's some people that are trying to get some pinto beans lined up and pinto bean acres. You know, there was somewhat of a contract on them this year, but it's going to be much different because there will be, again, quite a lot of beans. And I talked to a guy the other day that said he's about half done with his wheat. So that's the point that we're at around here. You know, we're nowhere near half done. But this next week, if it doesn't rain here, will be a huge planting week for us because they are starting to be able to go.
Around this area, people, I just talked to a farmer out southwest of Thief River, and he said that it varies with the land. He's heard of some people putting in beans first before they've gotten to their grain because of because how the land is. I mean, in some places maybe it's rutted up, maybe some places it's still wet, and you usually think get your small grains in, then you go for the row crop after that, but it's been a little bit opposite this year.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is the beans. You know, I imagine there's a federal crop planting date, you know, and there's also a frost, you know, issue that goes along with beans. So I imagine they thought, well, we'll get that in. The wheat can freeze after it's ripe.
Yeah.
We can still get to it, but the beans, if they freeze while they're green, you know what happens to them. So.
Yeah, you know, with beans, when you talk about that, that's true. The last day that we usually expect frost, from there till the day that they have to get planted for federal crop, you got about probably 3 weeks. So you really got to move it.
Yeah.
Now, for the third time in my life, I own a Farmall M. The first tractor I ever owned was a Farmall M. and then I owned Dad's for a while, and I ended up selling both of those. And now at this point in my life, I really no longer need a bigger tractor, so I decided to go back to an M. So last weekend, I ran up and looked at one that it had some use, but it also had power steering added on, and it had live hydraulics, which is a real treat on any loader tractor, especially an M, because it usually had a PTO pump, and as soon as you hit the clutch, well, that's it. No more live hydraulics. So I picked up another M. And you and I, Dave, we both have a lot of experience with the M.
Well, I suppose you're planning some modifications right now.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Got to start off, it's an F11 loader on there. It doesn't have a grapple, which I would like to have a grapple. So we'll get a grapple, or maybe I had in my eye on a loader down in Webster, South Dakota, F11 that looked pretty nice with a grapple on it. So I'm thinking about that. And definitely thinking about extending the platform out a little bit from the back and then including nice big steps with a handle. I mean, steps that go down to the bottom so I don't have to, rip my jeans getting up onto the tractor each time. So definitely looking at that. It's got good tires on it all around. Although I'll tell you what, we had a conversation about the addition of a truck front axle on M's and how nice they made them. And, we were talking about projects before we got on the air here, and that's just one of those kinds of things that just lights up my brains, Dave.
Well, and some of those, were quite crude, and other ones were real nicely done, so you can really make them nice. And then a lot of guys left the springs on them, so they'd have a little bit of suspension yet,
Yep. I'll tell you what I was thinking about. And this is just one of those things I think about before I go to bed, and it puts me to sleep nicely. But I was thinking, double steerable axles from a semi, get those in. You'd probably have to shorten down the frame so they're right next to each other, but then have that. And I've got power steering on there already, so I would imagine the pump would be able to handle that. I probably need to have a separate tank just for capacity to run all that steering. But that was my thought, Dave. I don't know. What do you think of that?
When do you plan to use the tractor?
Yeah, that's true. That's probably a real good point. And probably the best thing to do is just to go find an old grain truck that's seen its better days and buy it for a few $100s and cut it up and just use the front end off it and attach it some way to the back axle. Isn't that the way they usually do it on those?
Yeah, that's what they used to do, and then they used to have the loader. It was mostly done for F10 loader, for the high lift farmhand.
Yep.
And then they would be able to sweep hay at 15 miles an hour or whatever in the field and not get shook all over the place, But yeah, I think you'd really like it on the loader, I mean, it's really funny how all the new tractors that come out now, suspended front axle is the rage.
Yep.
Especially on a loader tractor. So you're heading in the right direction.
And if nothing else, it takes care of any extra money that I might have misspent by doing something dumb with. So that's always a side benefit to these projects. They vacuum up all disposable income so you don't do dumb things.
Yeah, well, it's kind of nice to be able to control your own crazy things you do,
Yep.
So it's not a bad place to put it.
It's called harnessing your crazy for good.
Hey, I like that. I'll have to see if I can remember that. I'm going to use that next time I'm doing something like that.
Got anything else for us this week, Dave?
No, I just want to make sure everybody has a good Memorial Day, and we keep all our lost ones in mind, and have a good week coming up.
Amen to that. Sounds like you got a house full, so tell everybody hello if you would, please.
I will. You have a good weekend.
Thanks, Dave. There he is, my brother Dave Nelson from Carrington, North Dakota. I'm Grant Nelson here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio with the Rural Reflections Calling Dave podcast.